Yo, yo, you know what it is. It's Grant Cohn and Vish Kumaran. Vish Kumaran. I've been putting the emphasis on the wrong syllable. My bad. Good to see you, Vish.
Good to see you too. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for coming on. If you don't know, Vish did a one-on-one for a half hour with Jaquasky Tart just a couple of days ago. It's on his YouTube channel. Subscribe to that. It's the link is in the description. It's a hell of an interview, and I'm going to interview Vish about that interview right now. Real quick, we're going to take your questions later, and Eric Davis, theoretically, is going to join us on the show. So whenever he pops in, we're going to drop everything and ask him questions about the 49ers because he's the expert. So until then, what I want to ask Vish is, does your perception of Jaquasky Tart, did it change after that interview? Because to me, my perception of him changed significantly.
Honestly, not that much. I think I had a higher opinion of Tart generally than the average 49er fan. But so I really didn't have a change of perception of who he is as a player. What did change for me is that, like, this is the first NFL player I've ever spoken to on any sort of level that's besides just speaking about them as a fan. And I was very touched and not surprised, but it was kind of cool to me of how he was so down to earth and just so unassuming. Because, I mean, when you're a fan like me and you've been watching football just as a fan for your entire life, like, I think there is a case where NFL players get a little deified and you think of them a little differently. And he was so down to earth and so unassuming. I think my perception of just how players are and just who they are as people changed on the whole.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, why is he doing this interview? Because a lot of times, you know, athletes like to be deified, as you were saying, and you're a 49ers fan. So my question was, is he expecting Vish to just come on and just be like, wow, you're the greatest, you know? And I don't think he was like that. I think the reason he did the interview with you is he genuinely likes talking football with you, which is amazing. I mean, he's a multimillionaire star strong safety in the NFL, and you're a student who's been doing this for 6 months. And he just is like, you know, I like this guy. I enjoy talking football with him. Let's do it. Let's pause right there and bring Eric Davis onto the show. Eric, thank you so much for coming on. Are you at home?
What's happening, man?
How you doing? Where are you?
I'm holding on for no, man.
All right. Well, Vish and I are going to go back and forth asking you a couple of some questions if you got some time.
Hey, you guys go. If I don't know, hey, I learned a long time ago. I don't know is a very good answer when you don't know.
Fair enough. You came on the show last week and we were unprepared. We should have done this last week, but you were a little critical of Kyle Shanahan's decision making against the Saints, which is interesting. I mean, yeah. I would agree with you on that. So my question, big picture, is how would you evaluate the job he's done this season?
Well, I think he's done a great job. I don't like that decision, but I mean, you look at what he's playing with. No one goes into the season with the intent of playing all of their backups. If so, they'd be your starters. You know, you just don't do that. And backups and the next man up is all about, you know, that the other guys. Everyone always puts it on this one guy when he comes in. Okay, he's got to be superhuman. No, you don't. The pressure is not on the backup that comes in. The pressure is on the other 10 guys, 9 guys, 8 guys, because now you know that everyone's human. You're going to make mistakes, but not today. I can't make a mistake today when we're already down some of our boys. So that's when you know the pressure comes on you to do everything correctly. Now, from a coaching standpoint, how do I coach the percentage that's lost? Because from a coaching standpoint, I want consistency. I don't need good. Everybody's good. Pro ball is not about being good. It's about being consistent. So if I have a guy that's an 80, I need you to be an 80 every week. I got a Bosa who's a 90, 95. I need you to be a 95. Fred Warner, guess what you've shown me? You are 90. I need a 90 out of you. That's who you are. So I have to I coach the other 10%. That's what I do. Okay? So when I have a guy who's a 75, I know from a coaching standpoint, I got to coach the other 25%. Problems come in when you have those backups, and that's why they're backups. The difference between a backup and a starter is most of the time not talent. It's here. It's
Yeah.
here. It's consistent.
Vish, let me follow up real quick. So what you're saying is you feel he's getting the most out of the players he has, which is the mark of a good coach. Let me ask you this, though. Specifically, that 4th and 1 call. I agree with you. We let the Saints off the hook. It feels like 2 weeks ago. But if you remember it, what specifically did you not like about that one call?
Bad timing.
Okay.
Coaches don't win games. They don't. Maybe 1 or 2. Players win games. So a coach's job is to put you in position to do all the right things. So the really good coaches in this league are going to make they're going to make an adjustment. They're going to understand now is the time to go forward. Now is the time to kick it away. These are the things, these decisions that you make are going to help you win that extra 1 or 2 games. I just feel at that time, you look at the team, the pressure that was on them, a close game, everything that was happening was leading to panic on the Saints part, and he let them off the hook. You let them off the hook. You had all the momentum, kick the ball in that situation. The defense was controlling the Saints offense. They couldn't figure anything out. What you did was you gave them a chance to get the momentum going and say, yes, you gave them an opportunity to say, okay, they don't want it, so we'll take it. That's why I thought that was a bad decision.
Well, that's an interesting perspective from a player. I mean, you can feel like analytics. People are always like, well, momentum doesn't exist. Yeah, it does. And that's an example of it right there. Thank you. Vish, you got a question?
Momentum is a real thing. Go ahead.
Absolutely.
Sure. So, Eric, to kind of riff off what you were just talking about there. First, big fan. You're an all-time great player. Second, so the thing with that 4th and 1, the way I understood it, is that I don't know if Kyle felt that his defense was going to be able to hold on all game. And I think he thought, well, we got our foot on their throats and we got to step on it now. As a player, would you, in that situation, would you appreciate your coach being aggressive, or would you want him to be the way you said, where you got to understand game situation and know that, hey, we've got him right here. Let's keep him here and keep doing what we're doing.
Do I play offensive defense? Because if I play defense, what you just told me is that you don't trust that I can do my job. I've been doing my job all day. They haven't done a thing. We have a lead, or at that moment, maybe at worst case scenario, it was tied. We're going against one of the most prolific offenses in the league, and they couldn't do anything with their starter. Now we knocked the starter out of the game, and you don't trust me against Jameis? Come on. So it depends on who you're talking about. Because if I'm a defense player, which I am, and who I would have been at that point, kick the ball away. Kick the ball. Give me a short field. Give me a long field to work with. Give me the opportunity to give you a short field. Because you and I, we both know let me just say this last thing. We both know going into the game who our quarterback is, and they're not going to score a lot of points. So let us do the job.
Let us win the game. Put the game in our hands.
Yes.
All right. Let me switch gears a little bit. Look to the future. It's starting to look like Jimmy Garoppolo may not be the quarterback on this team next year. What would you do with Jimmy if you were the general manager of the 49ers? How would you proceed?
Well, I keep hearing all this stuff about a no trade clause in his contract. There's no such thing as a no cut clause.
Yeah, true.
I've yet to see that one written into anybody's contract. So that one doesn't exist. So that's not an issue. I would proceed. The proceeding is based on who's out there, who's available, because the job of the general manager is the ongoing good of the team. The head coach's job is to win right now. Do you look at, you brought in Garoppolo because you thought that this is someone that both guys, one guy believed he could help me win right now as the head coach. General manager obviously looked at it saying, long term, this is our guy. I have no problem with anyone at the quarterback position saying, this is the guy. You identify your guy, go get him. I never have a problem with that. It's the most important position in pro sports, so I have no problem with it. If you find out he's wrong, you're wrong. Move on. That's my thing. Don't go. It's like playing craps. Don't chase bad money with good money. You can't do that. So, who's available? So that's always a question. Like, what do you do next year? Everyone keeps saying that. Get rid of Jimmy. For whom? Okay.
Good point.
Just because Making a change just for the sake of change doesn't make you better. So who's available? You start letting me see who's available, then we can talk about moving on. But if there's no one else, there's no question he's the best quarterback on this team. So until you can get one that's better, stick with him.
Well, would you replace him for a rookie?
Does a rookie make you better? It depends on who.
Not necessarily.
And that's what I'm saying. Not necessarily.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. We can throw all these hypotheticals. I only replace him if I get a better player.
Yeah.
It's that simple. If I can get a better player, then that's it. That's every position. That's football. That's the way I was raised as a Niner. You better be better tomorrow because we're looking for somebody better than you today. That's football.
Eric, what if you had just signed a 6-year extension? You have no worries about job security, and you feel you can do whatever you want to do. Do you get the rookie quarterback that you've always wanted and say, you know what? I'm going to start him. What are you going to do? Fire me?
Well, that's the NFL. Yes, you'll get fired. First of all, there's no such thing as a 6-year deal in the NFL. Every deal is a 3-year deal. That's it. The average career in the NFL is 3 years.
Yep.
For players. That's just the way it is. There is no luxury of this long-term deal. Everything is evaluated every 3. Doesn't matter if you're the coach, the cook, the quarterback. No one gets a free ride. So you can't look at it that way. It's a performance-based business. So you're coming in, you got your new deal, you still have to win, or you're gonna be unemployed. You'll be making money, but
True.
you won't. But you're gonna be unemployed. And the money's there. That's a given. Guys want to do the job. People get caught up, and that always gets me when they're praying the guy. And when I played, why do you need to print a guy's salary? Why do we need to talk about the money? What a guy is getting? No one gets paid what they're worth. You get paid what you negotiate. And if you have negotiating leverage to get a check, then that's it. That's what you're worth. If they pay you $2 to do a job, Cam Newton decided I'm going to play for $7 million. Okay, Jimmy Garoppolo is playing for whatever he's playing for. It has no bearing on what they've done or what you think they can do. It's what they were able to negotiate.
True.
So go ahead.
Sure. So we've talked about quarterbacks right here, right, Eric? And I do agree with your mindset of, well, yeah, I would like to move on from Jimmy, but I think it's all about upgrading the quarterback position. And I don't know if they can do that. Well, so as a defensive player, you're a cornerback. When you study quarterbacks, what are the traits that you look for and you say, that to me makes a good quarterback? Do you look at intangibles, where is the guy poised? Do you look at his mental process? Do you look at his physical talent? What to you what strikes out to you as, hey, this guy is a good quarterback because he has these XYZ traits?
Accuracy. That's number one. Can you throw the ball where you want to throw it? That's the most important thing. And all the other tangibles and everything that people always get into, this guy's a winner, and this guy, you know what? He's when he walks into a room, everyone lights up and they're all going to follow him. Well, if he can't throw the damn ball where it needs to go, that's irrelevant. So is the guy accurate? Does he have a strong enough arm to get it there? Because that's going to let me know what he's capable of doing on the route tree. If a guy can't do everything on the tree, then I know that there are things that I don't have to defend. It's that simple. Yep. I don't know what you're going to do, but I know what you're not going to do. And that's the first thing you do as a defensive player. I want to start to eliminate things, because remember, as a defensive player, it's about reaction. I don't know if your comment is "I thought" as a defensive player, you screwed up right there, because you're not thinking, you're reacting. You are looking at the evidence presented to you, and if you show me you can't throw a deep out from the far hash, I don't have to cover a deep out from the far hash, because you can't do it. So I'm going to look at the things that a quarterback can and cannot do. Now, once we look at the accuracy, we look at the arm strength. Now it's the mobility. Can he move? And if he can move, is it moving to throw? Or is it moving? Is it like Aaron Rodgers, where you're moving to throw, or is it movement where he's going to run the ball? And there are some quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson, or is it both that you have to worry about, like Russell Wilson? So all of these things come into play. And then, can he throw to his left? Can he throw to his right? This applies to receivers. This applies to everyone, because some receivers can't catch a ball They can run an out to the right side of the field, but they can't run an out to the left side of the field because of their dominant eye. And you pay attention to these things, you'll see that a guy has a dominant eye. So when he has his hands in a certain angle, it's going to have a blind spot. He's going to have a momentary blind spot to where he's going to double catch a ball, which gives you an opportunity. Now, in this situation, I got to play the ball in the air, but on this side, I can knock it out of his body because he never catches it clean. So
he can't track it. Yes,
all of these things go into play. So it's the same with the quarterback. Does he throw the run? Does he have to set his feet? Can he make this throw to the left side of the field? Can he make it throw to the right side of the field? Is he accurate down the middle? Like Alex Smith. Alex Smith couldn't throw a 9 route. He couldn't throw a deep route down the sideline.
Nope.
It was going to go out of bounds. 3 out of every 5 balls he threw were going out of bounds down the sideline. But down the middle of the field between the numbers, he's accurate. So it's not one thing you look at a quarterback. It's the combination. And then the players he's playing with. If I'm playing against Garoppolo, I don't care if you have a 4-2 receiver. I don't care because he can't throw it that far. I'm not even worried about a guy running past me because I know the ball won't get there. I'm looking for the ball. There are some quarterbacks where I got to play the man. There are some guys where I can play the ball because the guy's arm's not strong enough. So all of these things come into play, man. It's not just one thing that you look at. It's the player, the same way they're looking at you, what you're good at and what you can't look at. Remember, guys are pros.
It's so interesting to hear a DB's perspective on a quarterback. I want to ask you, Vish and I have had arguments for a long time about the proper way to build a defense, whether it's from the front back or from the back to front. Do you prioritize pass rushers the way the Niners do or defensive backs the way Bill Belichick does? As a DB, do you feel like you build it from the back front, or do you feel like that pass rush is everything for you?
It's funny. I kind of go by George Seifert told me this.
Okay.
And I believe it, and it's the way I would believe a team. And it's funny that this is how he saw it because every single year he drafted a big human being. He always drafted large human beings. He's going to get defensive linemen, and that's what I would do. If I were a GM, I'm always trying to get a large human being just simply because you can't coach that. You can't teach that. If I get this, if I find this 6'5", 330-pound guy running a 4.5 40, I want one of those. They're like, give me one of those
rare.
Every Christmas. Yeah,
he's rare.
I want one of those. But what George said, and I believe it, and it's my philosophy. I look at the way the game has morphed. Build it outside in, offensively and defensively. And this is why. If I can play your wide receivers one-on-one, if I can manage your wide receivers one-on-one, then I can stack the middle. Because everyone talks about run the ball and stop the run. Well, if I can play your receivers one-on-one, you're not going to run the ball because I can play a 9-man front. I can basically have my safe. I can have everybody keying in on the run, and I can let my receivers be covered one-on-one. Vice versa, if you can't cover my wide receivers one-on-one, I dictate everything that you have to do defensively because you have to double my guys. And if you have to double my guys, I'm going to always be in position to outnumber you in the box and run the ball. So you started outside in because if my corners can play one-on-one, and you've seen that this year with Saleh, even with all the guys getting hurt, the emergence of Jason Verrett playing Saleh. If you have one corner, now you can adapt and adjust. But if you get 2 guys that can cover, now I can blitz. Even if I don't have a front 4 that can get there, I can add 5, I can add 6, I can add to the pressure. But that's only if my corners can play one-on-one. So you have to find guys that can cover. It's that simple.
Let's stay with the defensive backfield. Vish, go ahead.
So I actually wanted to segue.
Hold on. Then let's stay with the DBs real quick before we segue. I just want to ask real quick, Eric. Every member of this defensive backfield is going to be a free agent next year, except for Jimmy Ward. Who should stay and who should go?
That's a tough. Let's see how it finishes out. I think
Fair.
I think you want to definitely keep Jason Verrett. I want to see what continues to happen with I like Emmanuel Mosley. You have more. He's a third rounder. This is the guy that you brought in to play, and he should play for you. Third rounder should play, or you're not drafting correctly. This is someone that you think is going to be a starter for you at some point. Witherspoon seems like he's worn out his welcome, like he's got in the doghouse, and the Shanahan doghouses are legendary, be it his dad or Kyle. Once you get in, it's difficult to get out.
I didn't know that.
I personally, you didn't know Shanahan's doghouse hard to get out?
I didn't know about Mike's. I didn't know about the dads. I knew about Kyle's. I've seen that in person.
Kyle's is nothing compared to Mike's.
Ooh, interesting.
But at Sherm, I would love to see Sherm move to safety. I've been pounding that. I would love. The safety position has to get more productivity.
Yes.
Richard Sherman has the body. He has the mindset. He has the intent to be a high level safety. I see Sherman moving to safety, and not only do I think Sherman can do the job, I think Sherman would be a Pro Bowl safety. I see Sherman moving to safety the same way, having the same effect that Merton Hanks moving to safety has.
Wow.
I really do. I think.
Do you think he can play single high?
Of course he can. The most ridiculous thing I keep hearing is that he's too slow. People keep saying he's too slow to play safety. If he's fast enough to be an all-pro corner, how the hell do you think he can't play safety? You don't have to be as fast to play safety. It's harder to play corner. It takes more athletic ability to play corner than anything on the football field. The corners are the best athletes on. It's not just because I played it. The corners have to be the best athletes on the football field.
He's
because
right.
What you do takes the most athletic ability. It's not the hardest thing to do. Playing quarterback is the hardest thing to do. But it takes the most athletic ability of all the positions to play corner. Not wide receiver, corner. I have to figure out going backwards and react to what these guys are doing. They know what they're doing. And I have to be there the same time the ball gets there, just like they do. It takes more ability to do that defensively. So Sherm has the ability to play safety, just like Merton Hanks. Merton Hanks was not ever going. I keep telling him all the time because I got hurt, and that's why he had to play his rookie year. I hurt my shoulder, and I missed like most of the season when I blew my shoulder out. And I told Mert, and he knows it. I told him, I said, I did you a favor by coming back. They didn't think I was ever going to be able to play again. And I told him, you would have had a very short career if you had to play corner because he's not a corner. He doesn't have the fast twitch. He doesn't move like a corner. Sherm can. He has the ball skills. He has the understanding. He has the ability to tackle. I think he makes the secondary very good.
I'm convinced. Hey, you heard it on this show. Eric Davis says Richard Sherman could be Merton Hanks. I'm convinced. You played with Merton Hanks. You would know. Real quick, were you on the Niners at the same time as Mike Shanahan? You were, right? So what was he like? What was he like? And is he similar to Kyle?
No. I don't know. Different.
Okay.
Different. This is the thing. It's hard for me because I haven't been in the room with Kyle. See, I've been in the room with Mike as a coordinator, as a head coach. I know Mike. I know how he does things. I know what he expects. I've only seen Kyle in some of the things he's done from a distance. I suspect that he's a lot like his dad. I mean, that's who we learned football from. And I see a lot of similarities. And the thing about Mike was an assassin, man. Mike was an assassin. I remember at the Super Bowl, he was still mad. And he would get mad that we, he wanted us to score 70 every game. Like every game. It was like, it is not my job to keep that coordinator on the other side, the defense coordinator higher. That's his job, to keep his job. And he was trying to get him fired every week. And I see
Kyle has that in him.
Kyle. Yes,
Kyle has that in him. Yes.
I see some of that in Kyle. I like that. I think you have to have that on both sides of the ball. You have to have coordinators that are saying, I want to set an example this week. Those are the type coaches that I had.
I want to put you out of business. Thanks for trying.
Yes.
Vish, go ahead.
So, Eric, one thing that struck out to me about what you said was you said that a football team is actually, especially offense, you want to go outside and in. And I heard an interview with Mike Shanahan a couple years ago, and the question was, do you build a football offense from the inside out and the outside in? He said the same exact thing as you, and he said it was because when he coached Jerry Rice, it totally changed his perspective on offense because the amount of attention that Jerry got totally changed how his offense ran. So I wanted to ask you regarding Jerry Rice, the greatest of all time. What was it like to guard him in practice? What was he like in practice? I think we have all heard the stories, about the infamous hill and all of those things. Well, what to you struck out because you spent every day for X amount of years with Jerry Rice? What were the little things that struck out to you that said, this is why Jerry Rice is Jerry Rice?
Just work day. Every day was a work day. So I'll give you a story at some point here about Jerry that epitomizes Jerry. But every day it was just go to work. You knew it was funny. I was talking to Lee Woodall 2 days ago, and he brought up something. He said, "Man, you know what? He said I've been meaning to tell you this because I told somebody else a story came up, and he said I really appreciate you getting me out of the line when I was getting ready to go against Jerry as a rookie." And he said, because everybody else was telling me to go get him. And he said, you grabbed me and said, if you really want to get cut today, stay where you are. And I said, yeah, I did you a favor. I knew you were not ready for that. And I pointed out to you. And I said that over the years, didn't you see how many guys Jerry got cut? And he was like, yeah. And that was the thing going up with 80. When Ray Rhodes, the defensive back coach at that time, drafted me, he brought me in and he told me, first of all, that was part of the reason why he drafted me. He asked me, what are you going to do when you get to Jerry? And I told him, I said, I'm going to kick his ass.
Before you got drafted, you said that.
Yes, I'm DB, man. That's how we feel. That's what we think.
I love it.
And when I got there, when we got there, he was like, okay, he was like, wherever 80 is, you go cover 80. You go cover 80. So I knew right then I was either going to get better or get cut. It's that simple. Because Jerry was not going to take a play off. And he had, and he happened to have Joe Montana and Steve Young throwing the ball to him. So you had to make a play. Or, the way the defensive backfield was for us at that time, if we didn't knock a ball down, it didn't touch the ground. It didn't touch the ground. Wow. You had Jerry Rice, John Taylor. You had Brent Jones out there, Mike Sherrod, and all these guys. They caught the ball. And the quarterbacks delivered them where they were supposed to be. So playing against Jerry, every day was work. Every play was work. He'd have his days. He'd have his moments. And this is the thing that I love about Jerry and that helped me so much as well. When something didn't work for Jerry, he would come and ask me. Like when I gave him the business at practice, he was going to come to me before we were off the field. What did you see? How did I do this? Why did I do that? What was going on? It got to a point to where I would be like, Jerry, okay. I'm like, you know what? You're getting ready to do this. He'd be like, how do you know? I'm like, because you licked your hands that time. Or I say, Jerry, you know what? You had this foot. Like when you're going here, you do this. When you're going there, you do that. And that's how it was. But that's the way it was at every position. We understood that part of the job of being a vet was to teach the next guy how to take your job. Part of competition was me not trying to. Although I'm trying to beat you at practice, you are my teammate. I'm also trying to improve you as a player. And that's the way we work. So it was like all day, every day, I got to go against this guy. I think I have more reps head to head against Jerry Rice than anybody on planet Earth. Because it was like all day. That's what I was doing. It got to a point to where training camp, when Jerry saw me in line, he would let the next guy go. Because he and I had gone against, because he wanted to work on something else. And I got to a point to where I knew what Jerry was doing because I spent so much time on it and I knew what it looked like. And I knew his movement to me as a rookie was like 100 miles an hour and everything was flashing like this. It reached a point to where I was like Neo in the Matrix.
Yes.
To where, at the end where everything slows down and you see the numbers. That's how Jerry started to look to me, where it was like, it went from this to where he was moving much slower. Because
that's so interesting.
So Vish, the story, I'm going to say this really fast.
Go ahead.
Epitomizes Jerry. This is Jerry Rice for everyone who wants to know Jerry Rice. Training camp, Rockland, California. 3:00 practice. It's triple digits. It was close to 110 that day. We're running a route. We come in, we line up. Jerry Rice and I, we're outside. He takes off. He takes off on this go route. So I'm running him, and then something happened. It was Jamie. God, what did I think of Jamie? It was tight end, Spider-Man. Can't think of his last name. Jamie Williams. Jamie jumped offside or false. So we had to run the play over. Now we run this play. Jerry runs 45 down the field. He just had a clearing route. So he comes, we jog back the next play. So now we run the same play. I know what's about to happen. They snap the ball. Most guys would come off like half speed. Jerry comes off 100 miles per hour again. I have no choice but to go 100 because I have to cover it. So now here we go. So on this play, Steve Wallace does something. We have to come back. This is number 3. We walk back, and Jerry, we walk back, and we line up again. Third time, 100 miles per hour. Steve Young does something wrong. Steve does something wrong, and Mike yells at him. So we're coming back for the fourth play. Jerry is now unhappy, and he yells, UMS better get this right, blah, 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 blah. So now, number 4, you think he's going to take the play off. 100 miles per hour, Usain Bolt. He is flying. So I'm doing this again. Something goes wrong. We do it for the 5th time. Wow. You know what Jerry did. The 5th time, still 100 miles per hour. That's Jerry Rice on a clearing route. He has nothing to do with it. Everyone screws up. He's doing what he's supposed to do. He runs every route as hard as he possibly can with the intent of making it game day, scoring if possible. That's Jerry Rice. That's who he was. So when you lined up against him, you had to know that there were no plays off. And that was part of his greatness.
So even if he didn't get the ball, he was going to make you work.
Because he was going to make you work, because even if he was not getting the ball, he was going to work. That was the bottom line for him. He was on the football field. It was a work day. Every single rep was to get better. There was no taking a play off. There was no going through the motions. What I'm trying to do is perfect my craft, and the only way I can do that is to do it at the highest level possible, so that game day, you're not trying to do something, you're just doing it again. That's where the comfort level of a pro comes from. It's where the consistency comes from. Now the game is not too fast for me. I'm just doing what I do every other time. It becomes routine. It's like blinking your eyes. And I tell you guys all the time, you have to do blink training. And there are young guys that don't get it, but I eventually get them to understand that that's the point. You don't think about blinking your eyes. You don't think about breathing. You don't. These are things that if you stop and consciously think about them, now you feel it, you do it, you can increase, decrease, but you don't have to think about it. That's the way you have to train as a professional player. It's blink training. So the movement gets to a point to where it's involuntary. You see it, you think it, you do it, and a lot of times you don't even realize you're doing it. That's how Jerry made you work.
So Eric, just real quick on Jerry Rice. So I'm a little too young for his era, right? And so he was like my dad.
1999, Eric.
Right. So I think I think what's happening when people talk Jerry Rice, that 40
Man, I stopped doing things you hadn't even thought of yet.
Okay, Vish, go ahead.
40 story of him running a 4.6, right? It's this legendary story. And I've seen the guy, right? I watched the highlights and I say, there's no way that guy ran a 4.6. And then when he got put on the NFL 100 team, Bill Belichick said, well, there's nuance to him running the 4.6 because he ran it 6 o'clock at night outdoors against the wind uphill, and that's why he ran a 4.6. So can you put to bed how fast was Jerry Rice? Can you really tell us how fast he was?
The fastest human being I've ever seen on a football field with my own eyes, the fastest human being I've ever seen do anything is Deion Sanders, without question. He was the fastest human being I've ever seen. Jerry may have been 4.6. I don't know. I never timed him. The only time we all get timed before we got the 40 combine and stuff like that. That's the last 4 you ever run in your life. But this is what I do know. He may have been a 4.6 when they timed him. He was the fastest man on planet Earth when the ball was in the air.
In the air?
Think about it. You don't remember seeing Jerry play it, and you weren't there. But how about this? Think about this. Think about all the Jerry Rice highlights that you have in your head. How many of those highlights bring up images of him diving for footballs like you see guys doing all the time now.
Never.
None.
Think about it.
None. Yeah.
When
He
the
had
ball
an
was in
extra
the air,
gear.
Jerry was going to get it.
Yeah.
He was going to run as it didn't matter how fast he needed to run to get to the ball. It somehow he got there. Think about it, Jerry. There's a difference between track speed and football speed.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing people don't realize, 4.6 is not slow. It's fast.
It's not. It's
So,
fast.
as
Yep.
Michael Irvin used to always say, and this was the thing, I remember him talking about it. He was like, I'm a 4.5. He knows he was a 4.5. He said, but I'm a 4.5 on play 1. He said, I'm a 4.5 on play 25. I'm a 4.5 on play number 77. That's the
Right.
difference. And
That's how Marcus
Jerry.
Allen was too, right? He wasn't fast, but he had a crazy endurance. Yeah. Yep.
And he had a neck for not getting hit. He knew how to not
Right.
get hit.
Right.
It was very hard. He had it very, very hard to hit those guys clean. So that was the thing. Jerry, when the ball was in the air, man, he was going to get it. It didn't matter who or what was after him, and we knew it. We'd be on the sideline looking at it because Shanahan had this thing for literally at practice telling us like play number 7 out of his first 15 or 20 plays, he'd be like play number 7 gonna be a touchdown. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this, and so we'd be standing on the sideline like waiting, like okay, count the plays. It was like okay, here's that play. And we would sit there, and Shanahan would draw this stuff up. Mike would draw these things up, and he'd tell us. A lot of times he would want the first team defense to go because he wanted to make certain that he got the perfect look. And he would tell us like, okay, like Eric, I want you to do this and bite on this, and Mert, I need you when you see the tight end flash here, this is what you're gonna do. And he'd tell Ken Norton, okay, the linebacker is gonna bite on his face. We'd all be like, Tim McDonough would be like, Mike, there's no way in the hell we would ever do. And he'd be like, I'm telling you, they're gonna do this. And Eric, you run this way. I'm like, Mike, I would never do that. And we would sit there and do these things, and the play would come, and Ricky Waters would get the fake in the backfield, and you'd see that linebacker biting. And then you'd see the safety jump the tight end. We'd be like, you have got to be shitting me. And then you'd look up, and here's the ball in the air. Here's the ball in the air, and then and Jerry's going to get it. So, back to the question, how fast is Jerry in that 4.6? As fast as he needed to be. That's what I'll say. Dion always said when you say how fast was he would always say faster than the next man. And with Jerry, I say as fast as necessary when the ball was in the air.
Well, I was a track guy in high school, which doesn't make me a track guy, but I know that a 40-yard dash measures your acceleration. I would imagine Jerry Rice's top speed was pretty freaking fast.
Like I said, when the ball was in the air, you had to run. He was gonna get it. He was gonna make you run. He was gonna test your hamstrings.
Vish and I have a Steve Young question for you. Are you ready for that, Vish?
Okay.
Can we do that?
Real quick, I think.
Go ahead, Vish.
I think Eric also mentioned it in the 94 America's game. The second touchdown, I think, after your pick six, I think you're the one who said it. Well, when Steve Young threw it, you turned to the guy next to you and you said, Jerry's going to get that.
Okay. Now, wait a minute. Hold up. I don't know if that's me or you, but you just sounded like RoboCop. What just happened?
It might be you. He sounds fine to me. It might be you. Does he still sound like RoboCop to you? Talk, Vish.
Hello?
Okay.
It's better.
No. You sound fine. Okay, you sound fine. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I just was mentioning that the same thing you said about Jerry going and getting the football every time, you mentioned it in the 94 America's game. I remember watching that as a kid, and apparently you said in the interview that you turned to the guy next to you on the sideline and said, Jerry's going to go get that on the second touchdown, the deep ball to the corner of the end zone, and he went and got it. So I was just saying that.
Oh, yeah. When we saw the ball up in there, Tim McDonald and I was sitting there talking. When we saw the ball in the air, because, you're talking about the game and things that are going on, and you just look up. And I didn't know what they had called or what was happening, but I just saw the ball in the air, and I didn't even see the coverage. I didn't see anything. I just knew Jerry was on that side of the field, and that was the comment. Like, oh, he's going to get that. There was no worry whatsoever. I was like, he's going to get that, and we saw it. And he did.
Vish is coming back. I don't know. He's having technical difficulty, but while we're waiting for him, I got a Steve Young question for you. You played with Steve.
Okay.
Was he a little ahead of his time in the sense it seems like the quarterback position
Yes.
has evolved into what he did? Would he be even better
Yes.
today? Yes.
He'd be Steve.
Yeah.
He's a Hall of Famer. How much better can he be? So,
That's true.
So
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. He'd be Steve. His game completely transfers to this game today. It's like Marshall Faulk. And people all the time when they talk about what best running back I ever played against Barry Sanders by far. If I could start a team today, if you wanted me to start a team today and say pick your running back, give me Marshall Faulk. He can run between the tackles. He's Roger Craig 2.0.
Yep.
That's the only reason I take Falk over Roger Craig. The way they played the game is the way the game is played today. You can run between the tackles. You can run the screens. I can split you out as a running back. So that's it. In Steve's game, mobile quarterback, accurate in the pocket. Can definitely he can make all the throws, strong enough arm to throw the deep comebacks. He can throw it in the middle of the field. He can throw outside the numbers. Will stand in the pocket, deal with the pressure, competitor, just tough, leader. The kind of guy that you want to play with and play for, and you like him as a person. So which makes him the ultimate leader because winning mattered so much to him. And he appreciated and saw how much the guys around him wanted to win, and he didn't want to let you down. And then just the talent, and he won. He came through when it mattered. So you never worried about him doing his job. That completely applies to how the game is played today. The guy that reminds me most of him. I never hear this comparison, but I say it all the time. Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson plays the same. He plays the game the way Steve played the game to me.
Enjoy.
What's that?
Enjoy. I mean, Steve, the smile was always like the signature thing about it. He really loved playing football. It was fun to watch and play. He had such a flair to him.
You know what? I think it's funny. I don't know. That would be a question that I would ask him. Like, how much fun did you have playing the game? We love the game, but the thing about football doesn't love you back.
True. That's a great.
It doesn't love you back.
Yeah.
Football doesn't care. Football does not care about your love. Football cares about the only two things. That it cares about your you understanding the obligation and commitment. It cares that you're obligated to it and you're committed to it. That's all it cares about. Football does not care if you love it. It will never love you. So sometimes you're not happy doing it. You're not happy, but you understand the obligation, and by obligation I mean I am obligated to do my job to a level so that the other 10 guys standing next to me can do their job. They're not worried about me. They're not wasting energy. They're not in any way concerned with putting energy into me doing what I need to do, and I have to feel that obligation and understand that obligation that I owe that to those guys. And then commitment. Am I committed enough to put in the work that puts me in position to be consistent enough to stand up to that obligation? That's all football cares about.
Right. It's not like basketball practice, which is a lot of fun. Like it's tough.
No. Football's not fun. That part of it's not fun. It's fun. Like, you learn to like the grunt work. Yeah. I love the grunt work. I loved working on my craft. I love doing that. And game day, I mean, that's it. And everyone, guys always ask, could you play another season when you want to play football? Like, everybody loves playing the games. No one retires because of 16 games. You retire because of those 40-something practices.
Training camp. That's the undrafted guys knocking into you. Yeah.
That's what. Yes. Well, at some point, that's not even going to happen because I reached a point where I was taking 2 weeks off training camp, no matter what. That was just it. My goal was actually to make it through training camp without touching the ground, and I actually accomplished that. I don't know if it was my last year, or my next to last year with the Niners. I went an entire preseason and training camp, and I never touched the ground, and I'm proud of that.
Well, I'll tell you, AJ didn't make it a day through training camp without touching the ground, and that's when I knew he probably wasn't going to make it. So that's an interesting way to judge a person. Can you stay on your feet in an NFL practice? If you're a supreme athlete, maybe you're able to.
Hey, it takes athleticism to be able to do your job and never have to touch the ground.
That's right.
Yes, and still make the team. Yeah.
Yeah. You got anything else for him, Vish?
Yeah, so I really liked your Steve Young Russell Wilson comparison,
That's
right?
interesting.
And I really wanted to ask you, right, because this is the new age of young quarterbacks. So let's get away from the
Mhm.
Niners quarterbacks, right? Because I think we've beaten the dead horse on being overcritical. There's some new superstars coming, whether it's Justin Herbert, Deshaun Watson. Obviously, Mahomes is obviously a superstar, and all those guys. Of those
Mhm.
guys, who's the guy that really gets you up to watch, right? Because part of being a quarterback is not only being a very good player, but it's also the guy you want to watch every Sunday. Who's that guy for
Yeah.
you, Eric Davis?
Well, I mean, there are a lot of young guys. You just said it, and there are some guys I want to see. Like Herbert, it's too early to tell. He's having some good games. Doesn't make him a good player. He hadn't
Right.
played enough for me to say he's a good player.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mahomes has proven that he's a good player now. After his first year, everybody was like, "What? He's this," and I was like, "He's had a good season." You know how
Yeah.
many guys have a good year in the NFL?
Yeah.
Mahomes has shown that I can. It's about consistency. It's not about being good. He's shown that he can do it over and over. So that's it. Russell Wilson is the best quarterback in the league to me. I said that 2 years ago. I said it last year. I think he's the best because of what he can win with a lead. He can win from behind. You give him a running game, he can win. He can win with no offensive line. He can win with receivers.
That's true.
If he has a score of 40, he can win. If you want him to hand the ball off and do it, he can win. It's like Ben Roethlisberger, that type thing, where their ego doesn't get into place. However you want me to win, I find a way to win. But there are a lot of the young guys. Like, I mean, I like Allen up in Buffalo.
Me too.
Me
Yeah.
too.
You look around. I mean, there are so many guys that you just have to look and see what they're going to turn into. Some guys I think they're thrown into it too soon, like Locke. Denver went crazy when I said Locke I said he's a backup at best right now. Everybody in Denver, Colorado, was calling me, and in the state of Colorado. Just like, oh, you're a hater, you're this, and I'm just like, he's not ready. I'm like, I'm not saying that he can't get there, but I'm like, he's not there yet, and you're going to ruin him. I think that's what they're doing.
Have they
They're
apologized
gonna
to you
lose.
yet?
No.
Because
Because
they've
he
been
will
out
show
on
you a
lock
flash
the
of
last
something.
2 weeks.
Well, but
Denver fans
he'll
also
show
thought
you
Paxton
flashes.
Lynch was going to be great, so you don't need to really take their word for it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but I'm saying he has talent. It's just not time yet. And some guys it clicks sooner. So with these young guys, it's hard to tell where they're going to go. But Lamar Jackson is always going to do something great. Patrick
Right.
Mahomes is going to do something great. Like I said, I like to see Allen play. Herbert,
Kyler?
I really love. Go ahead. You mentioned him. I can tell you how I feel about him.
Kyler?
How about Kyler?
Oh yeah, well, Kyler, definitely. Kyler, I love watching Kyler, and I want to see where it's gonna max out. But that's another guy, and
Yeah.
and he's the one. And it's rare that you have multiple small quarterbacks in the league that are talented. That's why the Manziel and the Mayfields and things. It's hard. You already have Russ. Somewhat, Drew Brees is getting to the end, but think about it. The league is not kind to small guys. It's just not.
No.
It's just not. So it's rare that you find a guy at the quarterback position that can do it. And Kyler, yeah, I like him, and he can spin a football. He really can, and he just has this knack for playmaking, and more importantly, for guys around him believing that he can get it done. Confidence comes from doing. Not a talking. It comes from doing. Once you've done it, you feel comfortable that you can do it again. You start to believe. You not question whether you can do it again. You know you can do it. And once I've seen you do it, I don't question whether you can do it. Well,
Eric,
I see. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, go ahead. No, I didn't mean to interrupt. You keep going.
No problem.
Okay.
No problem.
I want to ask you about Robert Saleh, if that's okay. I mean, you played for George Seifert. You had very complimentary words for Kyle Shanahan. Seems to me no one's doing more with less right now than Robert Saleh. What are you seeing from him in particular?
I like Saleh. He's had some moments, like when Allen Kidd was out there. I believe that was his name. When he put him out there, and I thought, bad day for Saleh because you have to adjust. You can't allow a team. You pull a guy off your practice squad that we all know isn't ready to be in the NFL. Standpoint, you had no choice but to let him play. I get it. But with that being said, you have to make the adjustments and do it. I think he's done a great job. of making adjustments. I know his defense. I played in his defense. I mean, he's running Pete Carroll's defense, and I played in Pete Carroll's defense. So I know exactly what the guys are supposed to be doing. And you look at the injuries, you look at not playing. Remember, earlier in this conversation, we were talking about coaching that other percentage. So he's lost some 80s, 90s, where you're expecting to coach, 10 to 20% and make those adjustments. And he's having to coach in some situations 70, 80, because the players are just not the same. I'm sorry. I know this is not a knock on anyone, but I can't expect my fifth corner to be as good as my first corner.
No,
it's just that's just not the way it is. It's just not going to be that way. So, I'm not as critical of Saleh as most. I think he's actually doing a pretty good job with what he has. Actually, I think he's doing a really good job with what he has, and finding ways to make the guys competitive. It's talent is the thing, and and like I said, the next man up. We always hear this. It's all about next man up. Well, next man up doesn't mean a thing if the next man is not as good as the previous man. It means nothing.
Did your coaches give you a number grade?
Wait a minute. Hold up. My pieces went out. I see that.
That's okay.
Now go ahead.
It's okay. Did your coaches give you a number grade when you were playing?
Did my coaches give me what now?
A number grade, like in the 80s, the 90s. Did they grade you like that?
Oh, no. Well, it was just a plus or minus. That was it.
Oh, plus or minus. Okay.
A plus or minus. Because you can't almost catch a ball.
True.
You can't almost make a tackle.
You did or you didn't.
So you either do your job or you don't. That's the way I was raised in football as a Niner. You either do the job or you don't do the job. You can't almost do the job. And I'm not going to pat you on the back for almost doing the job. And then then the next thing was, once you do the job at a certain level, that's your floor now. Guy McIntyre would say it. He was the first person I heard say it when I got to the Niners, and it was, and the expression was, and we all would say it was, don't be afraid to be great. Don't be afraid to be great. And a lot of people are afraid of that. Why? Because once you show me something great, it's
every
standard.
time. Yep.
It's the standard. Yep. I get asked about Fred Warner constantly, and I tell everybody that's what Fred does. That's who he is. What do you expect from Fred? I expect Fred to play like Fred. Yeah. Fred has shown me that he's a special guy. I expect him to play that way. Now, I know he's going to make some incredible play along the way, but I'm not going to pat Fred on the back for making a tackle in the hole. I'm not going to pat him on the back for knocking the ball down. That's who he is. Yeah. That's what he does. I expect you to do it. Now, yeah, you know what? I'm going to get hyped and all those things, but that's what you do. That's the standard. And that's how it has to go. So our coaches just they expected us to get the job done. And it wasn't a lot of rah-rah or fanfare. When you made a great play, they let you know that was, and it was about like that. That was a great play. And then when you
go do it again.
When you made a good play, they were like, okay. That's what you're supposed to do. But that's how the grade was. But when I get into the 80s and the 90s, I just try to throw that out just to make it clear for everyone else that when you're looking at it, that's a coach's job. A coach can't do everything, nor is he expected to. Because remember, as a player, you're a professional. It is your job to work on everything that's necessary. Because first of all, to have the job, you have to be efficient at everything that your job requires, regardless of the position. Back to when you were talking about talking about a quarterback, asking me about a quarterback. Is he efficient at everything? Is he efficient? Can he throw it down the middle? Can he throw it outside? Can he throw it deep? Is he accurate? Does he have a strong arm? Is he mobile? You want to check his efficiencies. And every time I check something off the list that you can't do, you make my life easier. And
that's right.
The coach's job harder because the coach that's the percentage that he has to work on.
That's his limit. Yeah. Vish, you got a question?
Sure, Eric. Let's branch into this, right? Because I think it's clear you love football and you seem to study it and just enjoy it as much as you did when you were playing. And someone in the comments asked this, and I also have this question. To you, when you watch corners today, who are the 3 or 4 guys that you say those are the best corners in football?
Oh, wow. There are a lot of guys that I like and things that they do. I like Trey White tremendously.
Yep.
In Buffalo, Gilmore, tremendously. I like him. I could go across.
Marlon Humphrey?
God, what's the kid in Green Bay? The kid in Green
Jair
Bay.
Alexander.
Yep.
I like him. I mean, I could go along. I like Ramsey. I like Sherm for when Sherm's not there are a lot of guys for different reasons. Trey and Gilmore, they are always in my top 5 because of technique. They're just so technically sound because people don't understand. There's no such thing as zone coverage in it, and people always talk about zone, but there's no such thing as zone in the NFL. Zone is you man the guy within your zone.
Right.
It's not high school where you're killing grass. No, you're always looking for work. The guys are too good, so you're always looking for work. Man to man, there's no such thing as man to man. Man to man, what? Am I man to man inside? Am I man to man outside? Am I man to man underneath? Am I, so am I man, man with brackets coverage? Is this a 3-on-2 and it's going to turn into man? So all of these things is understanding, and Gilmore and Trey White are excellent at being strong where you're strong. Every defense has a weakness. I remember a game when New England was playing the Niners, and there's this particular play where Kittle caught a ball on Gilmore, and I saw a lot of people posting that Kittle's killing Gilmore and all of this stuff and everything, and I was like, okay. And I just looked at it and I said, and I had to comment because he's playing an underneath trail technique.
Right.
It's designed to make certain, when I say strong where you're strong, your job is to make certain that this guy does not beat you across your face inside and underneath. So you want to make him take an outside release, run an outside route, and
which he does.
Make the quarterback find the weakness of that. If he does that, good. They won that rep. That's the coach. They beat the coach, not you. Gilmore, and that's the thing. Understanding he did exactly what he was supposed to do, and they were like, "Oh, Kittle's killing him," and I just found it comical because I was like, "No, actually, he's killing Saleh."
Good point.
That's what if that's the defensive coordinator making the play, I'm like, he's killing his coordinator.
You mean Belichick? He's killing Belichick.
That's what I'm trying to get at. He's beating the coordinator, and that's the thing. A lot of times when you're looking at defensive play, you're looking at a guy catch the ball. How did he catch it? Why did he catch it? Was he supposed to catch that? Is that the correct read? Because there's always a hole in the defense. And for you to make that play, that's when I go back, when you were talking about the pat on the back or the great play. Now, if you knock down that outside up the field route, that's a hell of a play.
Right.
Because you're not supposed to do it within the concept of the defense. And when you can make those plays, which Pro Bowlers and all pros do, that's when the great play comes for a guy like that. But I don't know. The hits in the head just picked up. I don't know how we got into that just then.
It's fine. Me neither. Hey, Eric, I got one more question for you, and then I'll let you go because I don't want to take up your whole day, and we're an hour in. But I really appreciate you doing this. My last question for you is, the Niners are coming off a bye. They're not technically dead yet. They're 4-6. You know what their schedule is coming up. What do you expect to see the rest of the year? Are they pretty much dead in the water?
From what they have and how they're having to play with the injuries and based on who's playing right now and who I know is going to be out there, I mean, and I think it was 91. That was the year I got hurt. And everybody, we had a lot. We were 4-6, and George Seifert walked into the room after losing that game, and he walked into the room and said, "Guys, we're 4-6. If we lose another game, we can't make the playoffs," and walked out. And we won our next. We won our next 6 games. And
that's all he said.
We ended up 10-6 that year.
Wow.
I don't see that happening.
Okay.
Um,
Right. Because this team doesn't have
you don't
Steve Young,
the-
Jerry
you don't
Rice.
have
Yeah.
the crew right here to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have. I mean, it's just across the board. I don't think you have the guys to do that.
Yeah.
If they win more than 2 games down the stretch, I'll be surprised.
Wow.
I'm okay with that. Like, I'm not freaking out because I know. Yeah. When I talk to everybody across the country that want to just kill us, I'm like, guys, you realize you're not playing the Niners.
Yeah.
You're not. And
you're playing the
great
Aiders.
thing about this is that this is not. Well, this is not. It's not a rebuild year.
Right.
That's the great thing about it. That the same way you ended up with Bosa. You have an opportunity to end up with other really good players because you had some injuries that are going to push you down the food chain, but up the draft. So you have an opportunity to build in this, and then your squad comes back healthy next year. And you're not going to have injuries happen in the NFL. And are guys going to get hurt next year? Yes. Is the entire team going to be on IR next year? No. That's just not going to happen back-to-back years. So this team will be in position to contend for a championship next year. So I feel good about it. I'm okay. But getting through this year, you have an opportunity. In a couple more weeks, training camp starts. That's how I feel. You start to evaluate who's going to be around, where they're going to be. Of course, you're trying to win. Niners don't throw games. Niners don't try to sit here and lose games to get higher. We don't do that. You're going to try to win. You're going to try to compete. You just don't have enough ammo. So you shouldn't beat these teams. Buffalo's better. Seattle's better. Arizona's better. The Rams are better. These teams are just better. And I'm a realist. I scout with my head, not my heart. And that's how you have to do it. I mean, my heart always wants to see the colors win, but my head knows that it's not here right now. But they better buckle up because guys are coming back, and this is the kitty. The cover's not bare, so yeah, they better knuckle up because everybody's fist will be balled up next year, and it'll be time to go.
So you just want to see him compete basically down the stretch. Is that right? Is that fair enough to say you just want to see him compete?
I want to see him win. I want to see them compete to win. I want to see always. And that's it. You compete to win. You go out there and you do everything you possibly can to win football games. And that's what I want to see them do.
That's all I got for you. Vish, is there anything else?
No. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much, Eric. We really appreciate it, man.
All right, fellas. Appreciate
Have a great day. This was terrific.
We'll do this again sometime.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right.
Whenever. Man. All right. Take care, Eric.
You guys take it easy.
Yeah, you too.
So, Brandon, you want to take a couple questions for a few minutes?
Yeah. First of all, that was really cool.
That was awesome.
Eric Davis is a great guy. Who knew?
Yeah.
He just hung out with us for an hour. That was tight.
And he offered so much insight.
He's really, really good at this. He should do this for a living. He's terrific. All right, if you guys have any questions for Vish, because usually Vish is the star of the show, and today Vish took a back seat for the Eric Davis, which
I'll do it anytime.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And we could do like a bonus, like a Wednesdays with Vish this week, where Vish gets a whole hour, because I feel like he didn't have his. You guys want to hear what he has to say too, and he's got some homework to do. So.
We can. It's Thanksgiving break, so we can. And we were actually hoping that you would come on with us sometime soon. So maybe Friday. So
if you want to do another one this week, I'm happy to do that.
All right, sure.
You down with that?
Sure.
All right, let's do another one.
Cool.
All right.
Anybody got some questions? We can answer them right now.
Yeah, if you got a question, throw it in here. If not, let's give him a couple minutes. I'm still grooving on that interview. That was cool. He said really interesting things.
Yeah. What really struck me was when he talks about evaluating those players, and he talks about little things like strong eye, strong hand, all those things. Like it tells you how
minutia,
those little details.
He's like, some of these guys they have a weak eye and they can't track the ball. It's like, man, I've never actually thought of that, but it makes perfect sense. And it's like, I played baseball in high school and I was good at stealing bases. So if you were good at something, you break it down to a science. It's so interesting to hear wide receivers, cornerbacks talk about the science of their craft. Because if they're in the NFL, they're probably really intellectually, they understand it like inside and out. I'm sure Jaquasky Tart's the same way about what he does.
Yeah. So one thing I did want to ask Eric is when he talked about Sherm playing safety, I think he got into this speed. I actually don't question the speed. I wanted to ask him about Sherman's hips.
Yeah.
Because Sherman doesn't get stuck playing. He plays really on the boundary in this defense, and he protects himself in the sideline. So there isn't a lot of flipping your hips and going around with the guy the way Carlos Rogers did in 2011 as a slot cornerback. So I would love to hear his opinion on that.
Because honestly, that was the boldest thing he said in the whole hour. He had a lot of very bold things to say, but when we asked him about Sherman, he was like, oh, he would be a great safety. And he even came out with the Merton Hanks comparison. That's how confident he was. He's like, oh, there's no question in my mind. And this is a guy who was a DB. I'm not arguing with Eric. If he says Sherman can do it, I'd like to see him get a shot.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. That was really interesting. He had no doubt about it. He's like, oh, dude, are you kidding? Are you kidding? I was like, all right. Hey, thank you, Eric. So I learned from that one. His comparison of Russell Wilson and Steve Young makes total sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Total sense.
I agree.
Yes.
Also, both probably the most underrated QBs of their era.
Yes, absolutely. I'm trying to think other things I like that what he said. The stories about George Seifert were good too. Okay, pick one out. Shanahan. I wanted to come back and be like, name one person who was in the Mike Shanahan doghouse. Name one person.
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
Next time. Anyway, what are we asking?
There's quite a few in here. We could take any of them.
All right. Hold on, I'm looking through. Oh, I like this one. Vish, what's it like going from a college student to talking with Tart and Eric Davis?
It's a good question. It's surreal. I mean, in one way, I'm kind of indebted to this entire COVID situation and stuff, because without it, I'd have never taken the time to reach out to you. And I'm totally indebted to you for giving me these kinds of opportunities and everything. But yeah, it's really surreal. 6 months ago, if you told me that I could have had a conversation with viewers with Jaquasky Tart and Eric Davis, I would have probably fainted, just because that would have been like a cloud. That would have been like the cloudest of cloud nine moments for me.
Yeah, dude. 6 months ago, you're a student with a burner account on Twitter and you would DM writers. I love the stuff you like. This guy's a genius. I don't know who this guy is. I know he's not in the organization, but he's really smart. So we started talking on the phone and I just loved our conversation so much. Like, dude, we got to do these on Periscope. And then people see you. Now you're friends with Tart. Now you know Eric Davis. It's like, geez, you might have to re-examine your future here.
No, I'm still computer science through and through.
He was 5 minutes late. He's like, bro, I just found a little issue with my code. Give me a few minutes. I'm like, that's so funny. Yeah, you got to fix your code, man. That code's important. You can't just give up on your code.
Tonight. It's the hardest project I've had to do in college. So
yeah, but you got a one-on-one with Tart, so you already won the week. It's all good. Let me see if we got any other questions. Outsiders 408 is really mad at me, and not your average one. Isaiah doesn't like you, so we're even. It was interesting how he didn't really have anything good to say about Jimmy Garoppolo, but also was like, well, you can't just replace him. It's not that simple. That was interesting.
Well, to me, I think that's the big question of this offseason, right? And we've actually talked about this. Like, it's not as simple as, well, you can just get rid of him, because they want to upgrade theoretically, which is where you go back to 6 months ago. They had the opportunity to upgrade and be in a more flexible situation. And I understand why they didn't do it, but look, it's really easy to 2020 hindsight and say, well, they should have done it.
Yeah. Yeah. Better corner in his prime, Eric Davis or Sherman? Sherman was one of the best corners ever.
Yeah, Sherman's a surefire Hall of Famer. Nothing against Eric Davis.
I'd like to know what Eric thinks, because most athletes would say themselves, but I think corner to corner, most corners would say that Sherman was one of the best of all time. Although not Darrelle Revis. And I gotta say, I'd like to know, but it was so complimentary of Sherman. I'm thinking he would say Sherman, but In man-to-man coverage, I think probably Davis would have been better.
Whoa.
In man-to-man?
I mean, okay, Eric Davis is a little before
Man-to-man?
my time. He's all-time great
That's what I'm saying.
49er and a legend.
That's what I'm
But
saying.
you don't be a Hall of Fame corner playing match zone coverage, which is
They didn't
essentially
play much
man-to-man in a lot of
man-to-man in
situations.
Seattle when he in his. They just
But they
didn't- I mean,
played
they
match
some.
zone, so he got stuck playing man in a lot of situations. And
I'm
I
saying,
think,
hey, Eric did say it's not as simple as man in zone. There's all kind of different types. I hear what
right,
you're
and
saying.
I think people like it's because Darrelle Revis. I think Darrelle Revis is a little salty that Richard Sherman, who I think maybe Revis was a little better player, but Richard Sherman's accolades are going to be far more at the end of his career than Revis. And 40 years from now, the next kids will be like, well, Richard Sherman was a way better player than Darrelle Revis. So maybe he's salty about that. I think people need to stop slandering Richard Sherman and acting like he isn't a cinch first ballot Hall of Fame.
He's definitely a cinch first ballot Hall of Famer. I'm just saying there were strengths and weaknesses to his game, like everyone. And I think Eric Davis you could put him in the slot and say, cover this guy with 4.3 speed man-to-man, which is just a position you wouldn't put Sherman in. And just because you wouldn't put Sherman in that position doesn't mean he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer.
He's done
because
it.
he is.
He did it in Seattle. When he was he did it.
Against Anquan Bolden, but not against the guy who could really run.
He did it. He followed Julio in 2016 when they beat them, and there was a controversial Matt Ryan threw it up, and did Richard Sherman pass? And was it pass interference? Was it not?
There you go. All right, Vish. I'm about at my deadline here. I got to stop and get to do some more work. But I think if you can, we should do another one of these this week, because this really wasn't Mondays. This was Mondays with Eric Davis, which was a real treat. Thank you, Eric. Let's redo this another day this week. Not Thanksgiving, but another time. We'll figure it out.
Sure, definitely. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you again for having me. Eric Davis, you're awesome. That was awesome.
Thank you so much, Eric. Really appreciate it. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
All right.